What was your thoughts on hearing Pete Carroll's sticking around for a while longer?
It's exciting. Coach Carroll's been he's been, as I said, last game, he's been one of the most consistent people in the building every day, and he has a great culture. He knows how to win. And he's just a great coach. He cares about his players and everything else. So it's a great thing for the Seattle Seahawks organization, that's for sure.
What's he taught you? You were wired a certain way before you got here, but what's he taught you?
Yeah, I think he's taught me so much. Taught me more about the game. Obviously, just being able to be around him. He has a great mind. He sees things that others don't see usually. He's continued to feed into my thought process on just staying positive, how to believe, how to see things, and looking for the best things at all times. And I think that's his optimistic approach. His thought process on that. I think also too his consistency. I think more than anything else, my biggest goal in playing football is to be a winner, number one. And number two is to be consistent. And I think that's in your approach, that's in your process, how you study, how you learn, how you approach the game, how you come to the building every day. And the one thing about Coach Carroll, through all the good times, all the amazing wins we've had, through some of the tough ones too, the tough losses, he's been the same way every day, in terms of his approach. And that's one of the things that makes him, in my opinion, a Hall of Fame, football coach, and just a coach that makes a big difference.
Tyler Lockett leads the NFL in pass interference yards drawn. So I'm wondering just about your faith in him when you throw his way, not only to make the catch, but also potentially to draw a flag.
I don't think about the flag part of it, but I do think about him making catches and making plays. I know that. He's done a great job. All of our receivers have done a great job making plays all year. It's been a lot of fun playing with these guys. I mean, just how to have a knack for the football, how to catch it, how to go up for it, how to make plays, how to get away from guys. Tyler's been phenomenal at that, catching those plays down the field, and also when he gets the ball in his hands, he may score. So that's always a good thing for us when he's going up for it.
Now that you guys are in the playoffs, I assume you never wavered on the idea that this could be a playoff team. But even when you guys were like 0-2 or anything like that, did you see any wavering in the team, or did you feel like there was a turning point for this team at all in terms of kind of getting that back?
Well, I don't think we wavered at all. I think the reality is, I always go to the reality of it all. We went to Denver. We felt like we should have won that game early on. First game of the year. You never know how that's going to be. But Von Miller made some nice plays in that game. He was pretty special. And then the second game, we didn't play our best football at all. We still had a chance, but we didn't play our best football against the Bears. They're a really good football team. And so that was the reality of it. And we had started slow before, and there was no panic. I think that more than anything else, it's just always about the work. And you gotta, like I've always said to you guys, you gotta love the process more than the end result. And I think that the guys on this football team, from the coaches to the players in particular, just we really love the process. We really love the practice part of it. We really love the competing with one another and just trying to be our best every week and every game and every practice. And it's a lot of fun, and we really embrace one another. So there was no fear. There's no fear in that. And I think with the vets and the guys we've been around, we know we've done it before, and there's no doubt that we could do it again. It's a new faces and new young guys, but we have to show them how to continue to prepare and don't doubt and don't listen to the outside stuff. And the outside stuff will make you believe it if you want to, good or bad. And I think for us, we've just been focused on each other, been focused on the process of it all.
Are you aware that your team could set the record or tie the record for fewest turnovers in a season? You guys?
I haven't been made aware of that particular stat, but I do know that we're doing a really good job of protecting the football, and also making a lot of plays while doing that. Guys are making touchdown catches all over the field. Guys are running the ball really well as well. I think to play winning football, you gotta be able to execute with a football. It's all about the ball, as Coach says. Every day it matters. We focus on that every day, all the way from OTAs and how we prepare with that, all the way when we're just throwing the off season to obviously big games and big matchups. So it's about being smart with the football and being strategic with it.
You mentioned taking care of the ball and making plays, but how do you kind of find that balance so you're still able to make the big plays without being?
Well, I think that I think that it is a skill. I think that it is a skill to not give the ball away. I think how you prepare, the fundamental side of it. Our running backs do a great job. Chris Carson, Mike Davis, those guys do Penny, JD. Those guys do a great job of holding the ball high and tight. That's a skill. That's a focused thing that you practice and you prepare for. I think also too, in terms of the throwing game, we've been protecting it pretty well for a while now, and I think that's because the receivers going up and getting it, making plays, and trying to be as smart as we can with the football. I think that's intentionality and being intentional with it, and practicing that way.
Back to Carroll, have you ever thought about what your career may be like with a different kind of coach who didn't mesh with as well, or share?
That's an interesting question. No, I've never thought about that. When I got drafted, first of all, going back to Senior Bowl, when I was at the Senior Bowl, the Seattle Seahawks were actually the first team I met with. You get a little card, and you have meetings, and as soon as I got there that night, I had my first big meeting, and it was I didn't know, and it doesn't tell you what team it is yet. It just tells you come to this room, and I remember knocking on the door. I'm like, okay, who is this going to be? And Coach Carroll and Tater, Coach Carl Smith answered the door, and John Schneider was in there, a bunch of guys, a bunch of coaches and everything else. Coach Bell was in there, just everybody. It was a packed room, and whenever you go into a room, you want to feel the room, kind of, and it just felt right from the get go. It felt real, and I always kind of when I left that room, I was like, that's the place I want to play. Hopefully, I believe that team's going to pick me. And I've told you guys a story about me putting the names in the hat and Seahawks, and that's a true story and everything else. And so it's kind of crazy. So when I think about thinking about playing for another coach or anything else like that, no, I've never thought about that before. I don't try to think that way. But I do think that Coach Carroll has been, a big part of just my love of the game, continual love of the game. I mean, he's just great in terms of how he approaches the day, and it's not just for me. I mean, this is for the whole entire building. How he approaches you guys. I think he does a great job with the media and you guys. I think he does a great job with the cooking staff. I mean, just from the equipment guys, he has a very positive personality in that way. And he makes you love coming to work, So I think that's what he does best, and so that's what I enjoy the most. And so, it's professional football, things, change and everything else. But I do think that he's been a blessing in my life for sure, as a coach and a friend.
As that first meeting, how did it go? What did they do? They didn't give you a Michael Dixon stare test or anything like that?
No, I'm trying to reflect back, man. I had so many of those interviews, but I do remember them just asking me a bunch of questions about football, about life, about my thought process. They really asked me about my preparation, and because they heard about my preparation, how I think and visualize, and how I go on the field at Camp Randall. When I first got there and throughout the season, and would walk through plays, just kind of me on my own kind of thing, and I think John Schneider did a lot of studying and figuring things out of in terms of how I prepared and everything else. So a lot of it was those type of questions, and why I thought I could be successful. And I told him, why I knew I was going to be successful. Not why I thought. And I think that's I think that was just a confidence thing for me. I just really believed that and really knew that because of preparation. And also I think my skill set too, and what I could do and everything else. But I think that I love the game and where I could go, and hopefully the Seattle Seahawks was going to be the spot.
Who was your NFL staff at the Senior Bowl?
Say again?
Who was your NFL staff at that Senior Bowl?
NFL staff was I think it was the Vikings organization at the time. I think it was the Vikings organization. I'm pretty sure. So I'm trying to remember. Man, who was? Yeah, I think so. I think Leslie Frazier was there. The new OC for Vikings, actually, Kevin was one of my quarterback coach's assistants. And on our team, we had I think we had Kirk Cousins, me, and Kellen Moore on our team. So it was fun, man. It was a blast just going through that process. I really enjoyed it. And then when I was training, I was at IMG with Ryan Tannehill, Kirk, myself. We had Josh Norman. We had Bobby Wagner for a bit. We had a bunch of guys, Luke Kuechly. We had Mohamed Sanu. We had Alfred Morris. We were all training together every day, heads down, focused on where we were going to go and what we wanted to do. So that was a blast.
The Seahawks had just signed Matt Flynn, which was why a lot of people at the time were wondering why they took a quarterback in the third round. But you just thought, I mean, when they signed Flynn or anything, because you're talking about kind of before they did that.
That was Senior Bowl. That was Senior Bowl, and then right before the draft, I believe it was, they signed Matt Flynn. And I saw that, but it didn't really affect my thought process. But obviously Matt had a really good career when he stepped in those games and played really well. And I think for me, I just wanted to have a chance. To be honest with you, I just wanted to have a chance. Somebody called my name, and whenever my name was called, I was going to make the 31 other teams regret it. That was my thought process. And so, I'm grateful that the Seattle Seahawks called my name. I'll never forget. I was sitting in D.C. and my uncle, he's a lawyer too, and everybody was calling his house. I'm like, okay, is that the phone? Is that the phone? And it wasn't the team, so I'm still sitting there. And he's got this old, he's got this old long cord wire, long cord phone, old school phone. And, the cord's probably like 45 feet long, I'm sitting, and I'm on TV too. So I'm like, the phone keeps ringing. I'm picking up and like, no answer. There's nobody, no team. So I'm like, geez, this is embarrassing. And sure enough, and I didn't have service all day on my cell phone. We're in the basement, didn't have service. So I was like, you give them a cell phone number and you give them a house number, a landline. And so the landline kept ringing, but no, nothing to my cell phone. And then sure enough, I'm sitting there in a 206 area code, starts buzzing my phone. I'm like, before I answer, I'm like, Seattle Seahawks, and just it was a great memory in terms of where I thought my destiny was going to be and everything else.
Who was calling the landline?
Man, like I said, my uncle's a lawyer, so people, clients and stuff were calling. Hey, is this Mr. Wilson? I'm like, which one are you looking for? And it wasn't me.
You studied the area codes, or just knew?
No, I knew Seattle on cell phone. Sometimes they'll say 206, and then they'll say Seattle. I knew for some reason. I guess I had talked to Seattle several times throughout the process. So I knew 206 was a Seattle area code. But yeah, so that was cool.
With the Cardinals, their pass rush, how big a concern is that?
Yeah, their pass rush is amazing. I mean, their record doesn't show how good their defense really is in terms of the skill level that they have. I mean, they are always tough to play. It starts off with Chandler Jones, him coming off the edge. I mean, Patrick Peterson's always been one of the best players in the league. They got great players in the secondary and safety-wise. They can really make plays. Boston's been great. Bethea's been great. They just added Swearinger, who's always been smart, always understands the game. He's a great football player. I think one of my favorite players to watch this year has been Budda Baker. He's him just making plays, Washington guy, but he's been making plays, and he's just all over the field. I think Buchanan's special too as well at linebacker. Golden, I'm not sure if he's going to play or not, but his ability to get to the quarterback, and Benson Mayo made a big play last week. I'm not sure his situation either, but all those guys, and there's other guys I can name, go across the board, but all those guys have been making plays. To see Reddick move to linebacker, he's all over the field too. They got some of the fastest guys in the league, in terms of playing linebacker, in terms of safeties and corners and D linemen. So they move it really well, and they dial it up, and you got to be ready to play some football. That's for sure.
Anything else?
Thank you guys. Go Hawks.